Is it that one? That's the one. It's lovely to welcome you all here tonight, and personally, I'm excited for the future to get to know you and get to know some of you a bit better. So, welcome. Nice to see you. So, there's nobody from the public here today. So, I'd just like to tell you about the evacuation announcements. We're all used to them, but obviously we have to read them. There are no planned fire drills, so if the alarm activates, please leave the building in an orderly fashion via your nearest fire exit. The fire exits are through the main doors of the hall or the storeroom adjacent to the stage. The fire assembly point is the island in front of the main entrance to the building. Please do not delay your evacuation to collect any belongings. Please do not return to the building until given permission to do so by council staff. Please note that the meeting will be audio recorded. Please switch off mobiles and turn them to silent. Toilets and hand washing facilities are available in the foyer area. So members, your voice will only be captured on the live stream when your microphone is switched on. So please remember to switch on your microphone when you're invited to speak and switch off again when not speaking. The voting will be done on a show of hands in line with the Constitution, and I will ask for a show of hands for and then against the recommendations, and will also ask for a show of hands for those wishing to abstain from voting. So, number one, agenda item, apologies for absences. So we've received apologies from Councillor Sharp and Councillor Carter, and also Councillor Sperring. So Councillor Cross will be substituted for Councillor Sharp, and Councillor Foster will be substituting for Councillor Carter, and Councillor Constable will be substituting for Councillor Sperring. So is that clear? Thank you very much. Item 3, non-members attending. There's none here, is there? No. Item 4. So the minutes of the meeting held on the 21st of March 2023. I don't know, was I the only one there? Were you there? Then no. So I was there. So I agree to them. So anybody else wishing to?
I was here, I don't know if I'm able to in the capacity that I'm here, but I'll do it until just have another read through. They look a good reflection to me.
Lovely. Thank you so much for those words. Thank you. So are there any declarations of interest, members? No. Thank you very much. So getting on to item 6, local investigations and determinations. So Emily Ewell, as Strategic Director, will introduce the report.
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, members, and hello to those of you that I've not met before. I've been the Council's monitoring officer since May this year. I'm pleased to present the report, which I hope is fairly self-explanatory. It's a statistical report detailing the complaints that have been received from April to July this year. There have been 4 complaints in that 3-month reporting period, all relating to district councillors, and in each case there was no breach of the Code of Conduct found. I'm happy to take any questions on the report, but would just remind members that I can't go into any details of the specific complaints in order to protect the privacy of all those parties to those complaints. Thank you, Chairman.
Could I just ask a question? We have this report, and it's absolutely fine as it is. I've got no issue with the report at all. But whilst I would not wish us to identify in any way the councillors, it would be perhaps helpful to know, we've had 4 complaints, if they were different councillors or the same, and also if the person making the complaint was the same person or different people. Is there a way of just giving them an A, B, C, or a 1, 2, 3? Because if it's a lot of different people, then it would indicate that perhaps there's some clarity on the training required. If it's not, if it's the same person, the same would apply for perhaps for different reasons. I don't know if that's practical. I don't know if it's sensible. So I'd take your guidance on that, please, through the chair.
Happy to answer that question, Chair. I can provide a bit more context to the data that's presented to you that could explore things like trends, whether there are multiple complaints about the same issue, and that kind of data, because that would still be in that statistical remit, so it wouldn't necessarily reveal any details of any particular person. What I can say with regards to this report is 2 of the complaints are related and the other 2 are entirely separate.
Thank you, Chair.
Also, if there was anything that was pending on the last report, would it be possible to have those ones carried forward so you can see if something's pending from, say something was pending from May, just for argument's sake, well, it wouldn't be on this report, but it would. So if that, just so we can keep, and because you've done well here, everything's been cleared up. It's just so if something got resolved, an older one that got resolved during the time of this report, that would be interesting to know. So that's, I'd just like to say well done for clearing up all the complaints that were brought to the table. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Emily, I asked you for some detail by email. Without naming any names, I think it would be interesting, useful to know a little bit more detail than what's here. And I asked really if it was your sole decision as the sole arbiter in these cases to decide whether there was a breach of the code. Whilst I trust your judgment, who is scrutinising your decisions in these matters? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councillor, and I apologise that I haven't got back to you ahead of the meeting. So it is my responsibility, whether that's a good or bad thing, to make the determination of the complaints. Where there is no breach of the Code of Conduct or where there is local resolution, it's within my judgment as to whether to bring in the independent person or not. If I am going to find, or if I feel that the complaint may be heading towards a finding of a breach of the Code of Conduct, then I am required to consult with the independent person before making that determination. So that's the check and balance, if you like. So, you know, to make sure that I'm not finding breaches in a kind of unfair way. And of course, we have the ability to refer any particularly sticky cases to this committee or a subcommittee of this committee to then hear that case and make a determination.
Okay, thank you. In these particular cases, why did the complainants feel that there had been a breach of the code, do you think?
Chair, the details of which part of the code is in the report, so that gives you a detail of where the complainant thinks the code has been breached, and then gives some detail of the behaviour that's led to that allegation of that breach. I hope that answers without going into any kind of more specific detail of the complaints.
Am I on? There are specific breaches of the code here that have been mentioned, and obviously the complainants had a view that they had been breached, but clearly in your view they hadn't. So it's very difficult for us to make any judgment on this because we can't see any of the details of each case. Without naming names, is there any more detail in each case that you can give us?
So I don't think I can give much more detail about the nature of the complaint, but perhaps it's useful for me to just talk about the process that I undertake when I conduct a review of a code of conduct complaint. So when I receive the complaint, I undertake an initial assessment, and the first part of that assessment is to confirm whether or not the code has been engaged. So is it something that falls within the remit of the code of conduct? And was the councillor acting in their capacity as a councillor at the time the alleged behaviour occurred? Because if they were acting in a private capacity, the code of conduct is not engaged. After I've done that, I then have a number of items that I will look through in terms of that first filter, and that's to help us kind of rule out any vexatious complaints or frivolous complaints or complaints about very historic items. And that's all in the Code of Conduct complaints procedure that Rochford Council has. And then at that stage, I'll then make a judgment decision on whether or not the behaviour that's been alleged has resulted in a breach or not. Depending on the nature of the complaint, I will usually write to the councillor that's been accused to ask for their response, and then I'll use that to inform my judgment. However, there'll be some occasions, so for example, if the code is not engaged, I would just make that determination before consulting or without consulting the councillor.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry to hog this a little. Just have one more question regarding the training session. Has the training recording been cut short?
Thank you, Chairman. Perhaps I've got a different view on all this. It's my view that I don't want to know who this person is. I don't, right? I don't want to form an opinion unnecessarily. Similarly, I'm a bit cautious about knowing too much about this incident because it might identify that person. So that's another issue for me. But I also note it says in here that you've got the code that it represented, and then at the other end of the scale, it says no breach of the code. So using my old-fashioned hat that I used to wear, if there's no offence, there's no prosecution. So it says no one's business. And what we've got to be, in my opinion, is to be satisfied that how that decision was made was correct. And then I fall back on the idea, people may disagree with me, but we employ someone with that knowledge and ability to look into some of these codes independently of us to see whether or not there's any issues. And I have to rely on that person. And to then, for me personally, to then say we should be vetting you, doesn't fall right with me. Well, what I am interested in is there anywhere in all of this, so I don't want to know anything about it at all, but is there anything in here that would suggest that we have any, which was already said, any training needs for all of us? Because we don't want to fall into the same issue. So I'd like to know, me personally, when all these are come, if there were training needs for all of us, then not the individual, because there's no breach. So if there's no breach, I've got no offence. You can't prosecute someone if there's nothing there. So I'm just saying that I would just like to know what the outcome is in terms of what it means to us. So I have confidence in your ability personally, and I'm happy with that. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to come back. I agree with Councillor Lorman. I think it's an excellent report. It's really nice to see that there's been no breach to the code. I mean, we should applaud ourselves actually as a council that our members are acting, when they're acting as councillors, are acting correctly. And I noticed that the report we've received the report. And can I move that the report be noted, please? If I have a seconder.
Yes, sir.
Yes, are those comments noted then? Thank you very much. Can I just ask Emily, the comments that they've been taken and will be acted upon? Yes, lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you for the debate and discussion we've had around that. It's very useful. So we're going on to agenda item 7, Standards Committee Working Group, and Sonia Worthington is the Acting Service Manager for Democratic Services will introduce the report.
Members, you have in front of you a report which is inviting the committee to appoint a Standards Committee Working Group for the for this municipal year. In 2017, Council decided that a working group of the committee be set up for the purpose of agreeing the content of the member training programme for going forwards. The council resolution in December 2017 stated that the working group should comprise as a minimum the chairman of the Standards Committee, 3 other cross-party members and an independent person in an advisory capacity. Members, therefore, you're invited to appoint to the working group for 2023-24 as per that council resolution. Happy to take any questions.
It's just a point of accuracy, it's 24-25. But I think that the historic nature of that working group, when was it decided? In 2017, we're now 2023. And I think it would be very helpful if the chairman so agrees that we revisit the makeup of that working group with a view. We've got a lot of new members. We've got different experiences on board and different ideas. So I leave it up to the chairman to determine, but I think it might be better if this committee re-examines the recommendation that was made and passed in 2017 and puts a new recommendation to council on the 7th of September.
Thank you. I'll have to get this finger working better. So in line with that, I'd like to propose from the chair that we do not appoint to the training working group this evening, but to make a recommendation back to full council on the 7th of September to appoint a revised working group as follows: a cross-party working group of 4 members of the Standards Committee. I would also like us as a committee to agree the names of those members of the working group, but put them forward to the full council and any changes we wish to propose to the terms of reference for the working group. Yeah. Sorry.
I'd like to second that.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Thank you. Any comments? Yes, councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yes, our group would like to have a member of that working party, if possible, working group. Won't be able to name that person tonight because of holidays and so on. We'd like a position on that group and come back with a name to put forward before the full council meeting.
Right, that's
okay.
noted. Thank you very much. Councillor Christine Mason.
No, sorry. I
Oh,
wasn't
you weren't.
indicating. Thank you, Richard.
Okay. So does anybody here wish to put their names forward? Oh, Councillor Linden. Any others? Yes, Councillor Long. Chris, sister.
My understanding was that Councillor Sharp was
Oh, yeah.
interested.
Councillor Sharp on his, Andy. Councillor Sharp, you're subbing for him and he has asked you to actually put his name down on the working group.
Well, my understanding, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, whoever,
Councillor
was that
Sharp would
Councillor
like
Sharp
to.
was interested,
Councillor
so I'd
Sharp
like
would
to put his
go on the
name
working
forward,
group.
yeah.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Could you just confirm that a space will be held for our group.
Yes, so
please.
how many have we got now?
So you've got three, councillor Linden, councillor Lorman, councillor Sharp, and then a nomination from the Conservative group.
Well, that's perfect then.
Can I ask, Chairman, question for Sonia?
Yeah.
If we have more than 4, we would have to go to a vote.
Yes, I think so.
If you.
So
if
we're
you-
not
if you- if
limited,
you
we
had
can put all
more-
our names down.
If you
but-
had more than 4
Yeah.
volunteers.
So I'm suggesting is that although we're talking about it now, there are people who are not members who should be asked, do they want to continue on this committee?
Pardon?
Well, people that are not attending tonight might want to be on there.
It was actually cross-party. It's how you find
Yeah.
anything and
So-
send it from the committee.
So the actual committee, the recommendations are that they're cross-party and we have cross-party representation there.
And it's only from the committee.
And from the standards committee.
It's-
Yes, Sonia, if you would like to talk.
Members, this would be a recommendation that would have to be approved by full council in any event on the 7th of September. And as with any working group, any members that aren't on that working group can always feed through their views to any member of that working group.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Any other comments?
If I might, as I'm the only independent here, I suppose I really should put myself forward as standing in the ground. So
There isn't, at the moment, we're looking at the proposals that there doesn't have to be an independent member.
that's fine. I mean, whichever way it goes, yeah. But
Okay, thank you. Anyway, thank you so much. Okay, so that goes through to full council now, yeah, for agree.
Can we have a vote on it, please, Chairman?
Chair, your terms of reference as well.
Oh, yes, I was going to do that. I was going to do that after the, yeah. So can we have agreement? Is that those who agree with that or for that? In favour. So those 4 names to be put forward to full council, because we'll have the other name by then. Any who are against?
That's you.
That's it. Lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you. So the other thing that I wanted to put forward to you was the proposed terms of reference for the working group. I'm really sorry that I haven't got copies to send to you, but I'm sure that they can be sent to you as soon as possible. To determine the member training programme for the municipal year 24-25 and circulate the full report with the agenda for the Standards Committee to be held by the end of this year, 2023. That consideration given to member feedback, to determine any special requests from members and incorporate as appropriate, incorporate a mix of remote and in-person sessions as best suited to the subject matter, set appropriate provisional dates so that the member services can include these in the 2024-2025 timetable with regard to the established procedure of 1 morning, afternoon session and 1 evening session wherever possible, to take account of the importance of the regulatory committee requirements, using LGA trainers as far as practicable and in-house training and other external trainers as needed, taking into account both demands on staff, time and budget, and arrange for officers to provisionally book external trainers to ensure availability. Now, I know that's quite a lot for you all to remember. And as I said, I'll put through, but as it stands, and have you heard it at the moment, can I ask a vote on that? Those are in favour.
Are you actually
The
voting
terms
on
of reference, yes. Okay, so that's gone
Yeah.
through. Thank you very much. Is there
I
anything?
think that concludes the
That's
business.
close. Okay. First of all, before finishing, that concludes the business tonight. But I'd like to thank you very much for coming along. I also like to thank you for your questions to Emily and for the debate that was had, and also thank Emily and for her responses, very clear and understandable. And thank you, Sonia. So thank you very much.
time?
meeting?
The meeting has ended at, need my glasses, was it 5 to 8?
8:57.
8:57 to be precise.
7:57.
7:57. Don't confuse me, Richard.